demonstration or manifestation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Meron po akong kaunting katanungan, Mr. Chair, sa ating mahal na ombudsman. But at the outset, I would like to laud the ombudsman kasi siya lang po ang agency na nagsasabi he can live with his budget. Wala pa po akong naririnig na head of agency, head of department, na nagsasabi he will live with the budget given him by the government. So, congratulations po, Ombudsman Samuel Martires. Now, the COA at saka yung Ombudsman, they are supposed to be the guardians or the agencies primordially responsible for our anti-corruption operations insofar as our government is concerned. Sana po magkaroon po ng cooperation yung COA at saka Ombudsman kasi kailangan po silang mag-coordinate para po dun sa mga kaso na dapat na i-file sa korte. Because I agree with the Ombudsman when he stated na yung endemic na po ang corruption. Why? Because in the Corruption Perception Index among 6 ASEAN nations, tayo po ang pang-anim where Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, and Indonesia are above us insofar as Corruption Perception Index is concerned. Nandun po tayo sa huli. Now, may I ask the Ombudsman, bakit po yung insofar as your case statistics are concerned, from 2020, your conviction rate was 61.2%. It went down to, in 2022, to 26.5%. May I know what caused this drop insofar as your conviction rate is concerned, Mr. Chair?
Your Honor, ito po yung sinasabi ko kanina, the unfair evaluation of the Office of the Ombudsman, where our performance is based on the conviction rate. The Office of the Ombudsman functions as a prosecutor and not as a judge. Whatever findings we have, insofar as we are concerned, there is probable cause. Insofar as we are concerned, our case is strong. The only problem is, pagdadating po sa husgado, iba po ang pananaw ng huwes, whether with the Sandigan Bayan or with the lower court. So, I reiterate that we should not be judged on the number of convictions that we have. Hindi naman kami pwedeng maging investigador, a prosecutor, and a judge all at the same time. So we stop at the role of being a prosecutor, investigator, and a prosecutor. So ito lang po ang inihiling ko, not only in Congress, but also with those who would rate the Office of the Ombudsman, especially Transparency International, some agencies of the United Nations. Huwag naman kami sasabihin, i-rate kami on the basis of our performance as conviction sa court. Hindi ho kami ang husgado eh. Kami ay prosecutor. We cannot tell the justices of the Sandigan Bayan or the judge of the Regional Trial Court, i-convict ninyo. Of course, we cannot do that. In much the same way that if we secure conviction from the Sandigan Bayan, the accused goes up to the Supreme Court, ibang pananaw ng Supreme Court, reverses sa Sandigan Bayan, and convicts the accused. Marami yung ganyan eh, or acquits the accused. So, I find it so unfair that the Office of the Ombudsman or our fight against corruption is based on the number of convictions. E ano na lang kung nangyari sa mga pinaghirapan, pinagpawisang mga investigasyon sa mga kaso, where we even go to the extent of going to Patikul. We go to the extent of, going to, in fact, one of my prosecutors, one of my investigators has to resign. He was threatened by a mayor in Region 6. Nanghihingi po siya ng mga dokumento, sinigawan siya ng hindi niya alam na yun ang mayor. Tinanong siya, sino ka? At dahil hindi niya kilala, sumagot din siya, sino ka rin ba? So, from that time on, he was threatened by the mayor. He has to resign and he's now in Canada. So ito yung mga facts, mga realities na dinadaanan namin na hindi na-appreciate itong mga nagre-rate sa amin. Ang tinitingnan lang po yung conviction rate. Sana po wag yung conviction rate. Dahil kahit ano po ang sabihin namin, kahit i-assign ko dyan ang isang napakagaling na abogado, kumuha pa ho kami ng isang private lawyer na napakagaling. Kung iba po ang pananaw ng husgado, wala kayong magagawa. Sana husgan kami sa aming disposal rate. Sa number of cases that we dispose every year. Yun lang po, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hindi ko naman po hinuhusgahan yung conviction rate ng kwan. I just read the statistics insofar as your cases statistics are concerned. But if we look at your evaluation rate, it's from 2020, it's 52.5%. It rose to 80.1% in 2022. Kita po naman dito sa statistics na ito. Kaya lang po nagiging curious po ako sa pagtatanong kung bakit ganito. So I find your answer logical, sir. So I will go to the next issue, which is your budget.
Sir, excuse me po. Ipagpaumanin po ninyo, pero I'm not pointing an accusing finger. Nakasanayan pong gawin ng mga tao sa ombudsman na gumawa ng ganitong report na nilalagay yung conviction rate. Ayoko na lang pong baguhin yun, baka magmukhang kontrabida po ako sa mga predecessors ko. Marami pong salamat.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, if we look at the budget of the Ombudsman, its cost structure would be 3.4 billion for general administration and support, which it's because of their PS, and 30.2% or 1.5 billion for operations. Now, kung titingnan po natin yung operations budget nila, the bulk would go to anti-corruption investigation program. The second one would be anti-corruption enforcement program, and the third one would be corruption prevention program, which would take 6.4% of their operations budget, and 84.3 million for Ombudsman Public Assistance Program. May just asked, Mr. Chair, bakit po yung prevention aspect dito ay mas maliit po ang budget kaysa dun sa anti-corruption investigation program at saka anti-corruption enforcement program? Hindi po ba dapat mas maganda yung gastusan na lang po natin ng mas malaki yung ating prevention, kasi we are preventing the commission of corrupt practices. Kung titignan po natin, para bang ang emphasis natin is after the fact, hindi po yung prevention aspect, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, yung pong prevention program ng Ombudsman, this pertains po sa mga seminars or training programs na ginagawa namin sa kabataan and some various government offices. Para lang po sabihin sa kanila ano yung mga batas tungkol sa corruption o anti-corruption. Kaya medyo maliit lang po ang budget namin kasi ang ginagastusan lang naman po doon yung materials at saka pagkain. Hindi na po kami nagbabayad ng mga resource persons dahil mayroon na po kami sariling resource persons within the office. So kaya medyo maliit lang po ang budget para doon.
Thank you. Would you agree with me, Mr. Chair, that we should increase the budget for corruption prevention? Kasi yun po ang kailangan natin i-prevent natin. Hindi po yung we act after the fact. Yun po yung aking punto lang. If I ask the personal opinion of the Honorable Ombudsman, would he agree to this?
Your Honor, 1,001% I agree with you.
Marami pong salamat, Your Honor, and Mr. Chair, marami pong salamat. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Acop. Now let's go to another majority member, Representative Loreto Acheron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the Ombudsman and the other members of the Ombudsman family. At the outset, let me thank the Ombudsman for being honest, forthright, and candid in your answers. Sana ganito po ang lahat ng mga nag-a-attend ng ating committee or budget briefings. Magiging example po sana kayo sa mga ibang nag-atin dito na masyadong mahaba ang mga sagot, hindi naman matutok yung ano yung tama sa kanilang mga sinasagot. So anyway, I'm very thankful for that initial way of answering by the Ombudsman. Ang tanong ko lang po is yung meron po ba tayong problema sa dispatch or assignment ng ating mga Ombudsman prosecutors sa mga kaso natin sa probinsya, sa ating munisipyo. I'm referring to the cases, anti-graft cases, na nandyan po sa mga first level courts, ano? Na karamihan ay nagiging sanhi po ng delay ng disposition of cases dahil laging sinasabi, we have to postpone this because there is no Ombudsman prosecutor. Dahil halimbawa po sa Mindanao, ano? Sa Southern Mindanao, specifically in Sarangani and sa Cotabato, napupuspon pa ang mga kaso dahil ang mga regional, ang ating Ombudsman prosecutor magagaling pa po sa Davao. So, pag walang Ombudsman prosecutor, puspon mo na yung kaso, nagreklamo po ang ating mga litigants o ang ating mga kasama sa husgado.
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, I mentioned earlier about the creation or the hiring of lawyers to be assigned to each of the province throughout the Philippines. We will be able to address the situation where hindi na DOJ prosecutors ang mag-appear in court, but ombudsman, lawyers, or prosecutors will be the one to appear in court. Rest assured that in the province of Sarangani or its neighboring provinces, magkakaroon po. At least, kasi tinitingnan po namin like in the province of Sarangani, ano po yung mga municipalities na pwede mo i-cluster, where the people, it would be very convenient for the people to travel. Ang travel time nga na inaano ko sa kanila is at least mga 2 hours. More than 2 hours, gawa tayo ng isang cluster. Para yung mga nag-ano ng clearance, just in anticipation sa clearances, pagpa-file ng complaint, hindi na sila kailangan pumunta para all the way to Cagayan de Oro or to Davao City. So there will be in each of these provinces, Jensan, Sarangani, Zamboanga po kasi napakalaki din, napakahirap puntahan, no? From Davao City going to Zamboanga, iikot ka pa eh. So, huwag po kayong mag-alala. Before the year ends, makakaroon po ng mga lawyers po doon sa probinsya ng Sarangani. Marami pong salamat.
Mr. Ombudsman, in the meantime na wala pong mga na-appoint na maraming prosecutors from the Ombudsman, ano po yung hakbang na ginagawa natin para po ma-solve yung or ma-address yung concern na gano'n po sa mga probinsya? Dahil kadalasan po ang nangyayari, it's either napupuspon o yung iba naman, pinapatinan na lang ng mga prosecutors natin from the DOJ. I mean, is that an existing policy, memorandum, or ano po ba, internal arrangement between your office in the Department of Justice in the local level na pag wala ang government, ang ombudsman prosecutor, pwede na yung mga local prosecutors or provincial prosecutors?
Your Honor, please, Mr. Chair. There is an existing memorandum of agreement between the Ombudsman and the Department of Justice na mag-represent sa amin sa ibang mga lugar ay ang DOJ prosecutors. So they have been deputized. And the Ombudsman also has the authority to deputize any lawyer in the government, like the Department of Justice, na mag-represent sa amin. But to avoid this conflict, because I know that the prosecutors from the Department of Justice are also very busy with their own cases, to solve this situation, napagkasunduan po namin na mag-hire kami ng additional lawyers or will act as prosecutors doon sa mga probinsya na yun. Ilalagay po namin not just in Davao City, pero distribute namin sila sa buong Visayas at Mindanao and Luzon.
Lastly lang po, kailan na po ang ating hiring? Kasi ang dami ko pong aplikante sa inyo. Mag-uumpisa na po ba para matulungan natin ang ating ombudsman na talagang mag-prosecute ng mga kaso, lalo na sa mga probinsya po na hindi rin po nagagampanan ng mga taga-Department of Justice prosecutors sa kanilang trabaho na tulungan ng mga ombudsman dahil po talagang kulang din po talaga ang ating prosecutors from the ombudsman.
We have already for Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, and the MOLEO, which is the military and other law enforcement officers, nagsimula na po kami mag-interview. Ang problema nga lang po, bawat isang item lang, isang posisyon, between 80 to 100 po applicants. So medyo dito nahihirapan. So ang pinag-uusapan namin ngayon, baka wag na yung Deputy Ombudsman na mag-interview mismo, kundi mag-designate siya ng ibang tao na mag-interview, tingnan lang yung transcript of records o yung ibang experience ng isang applicant para makasimula kami ng mag-hire. But I assure you, as I have said a while ago, that we will start hiring before the end of the year.
Thank you po, Mr. Ombudsman. Isang follow-up lang po, Mr. Chairman. Ano na po ang magiging basic qualification ng ombudsman prosecutor na ina-appoint natin? Or by experience, ano po ba ang inyong kinakailangan?
Base po kasi ngayon, Mr. Chair and Your Honor, base po ngayon sa naabutan kong qualification standard. Ang prosecutor must be a lawyer at least for the past 3 years. Meron siyang experience at trial. Para maabot niya yung salary grade na that is required. We will be starting with salary grade 25 sa ngayon. At meron sana akong hiling in relation to this doon sa retirement law ng ombudsman na yung mga lawyers occupying salary grade 25 ay hindi po kasama sa retirement. Kami po ay magsasubmit ng isang recommendation, isang bill amending the retirement law of the ombudsman na yung mga lawyers occupying salary grade 25 must likewise be covered by the retirement law of the office of the ombudsman. Kanya lang po nangyaring ganito dahil ang sabi nila mapopromote din naman itong mga salary grade 25 to 26 or 27. Puro bata po ang mga empleyado ng office of the ombudsman. So bago po ma-promote, the chances of being promoted from salary grade 25 to salary grade 26, baka nauna pa nag-retire yung salary grade 25 sa sinusundan niya salary grade 26. So it's just best to amend the law, make the retirement in the office of the ombudsman start with salary grade 25 for those occupying lawyer positions or those involved in the anti-corruption activities. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Just one last lang po, Panis. Sir Ombudsman, nagsiset po ba kayo ng percentage of your loyal personnel na i-dispatch po natin, ina-assign po natin for litigation purposes in the provinces, cities, or municipalities? Meron po ba kayong nilalagay na quota dyan or percentage ng inyong personnel?
Yung Prosecution Bureau po ng Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, ay the number of lawyers is dependent now on the requirement of each of the sectoral officers. So, tulad po ng Mindanao, na napakalawak ng Mindanao, as I have said, going to Zamboanga City from Davao, ay talagang malayo. So, it will depend now on the recommendation of the Deputy Ombudsman for Mindanao. So, magkakaiba-iba po ngayon ang maging numero ng abogado. Kasi katulad ng military and other law enforcement officers, nationwide din yun. So, titingnan gaano ka-effective yung halimbawa 20 na prosecutors, 30 prosecutors, how effective would they be in appearing before the courts? Gaano kadala sa mga cases sa mga probinsyang ito? So, initially at the moment, I think the number of lawyers being recommended for each of the sectoral offices is about 15 lawyers additional in the meantime. Para lang ma-fill-upan muna namin yung needs ng bawat probinsya.
Thank you, Ombudsman and Mr. Chairman. At this point, I'd like to reiterate the request and the manifestation of support from our colleagues na supportahan natin ang budget proposal ng Ombudsman given the colossal mandated function ng Ombudsman specifically on the fight against graft and corruption. At kung pwede lang, hindi lang yung kanilang proposed budget, dagdagan pa po natin ito. Napakalaki po ng trabaho talaga ng Ombudsman. Nakikita na natin over the years, ano? Ito lang ang ating agency na nagpa-fight ng corruption na malaking problema po sa ating gobyerno. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ombudsman Martirez.
Thank you, Representative Acharon. I'd like to recognize Representative Pantaleon Alvarez. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, my colleagues, good morning. And to the Ombudsman, Justice Martirez, as well as the rest of the family. Mr. Chair, gusto ko lang pong balikan yung confidential fund na diniscuss earlier ni Representative Franz Castro. With due respect po dun sa mga katanungan ni Representative Castro, tingin ko po dito, Mr. Chair, yung request for proposed budget po ng Ombudsman for confidential fund na 51.468 million. Napakaliit po nito, Mr. Chair. Considering po yung trabaho at saka yung function ng Ombudsman. Yung case building lang, investigation and fact-finding, Mr. Chairman, hindi po madali yon at hindi po mura yon. Mahirap po. Mahirap kumuha ng mga ebidensya at magkumbinsin ng mga tao para mag-testify. Kanya po para sa akin ay baka pwede namang dagdagan natin ito from 51.468 million, baka pwedeng gawing 100 million to, Mr. Chairman. Kasi kung titingnan natin, talagang itong ahensya na ito, Mr. Chairman, ang mas bagay na bigyan ng Confidential Intelligence Fund. Kung titingnan natin, napakaliit ng request nila. Pero considering po dun sa trabaho ng Ombudsman, siguro, Mr. Chairman, hindi naman mahirap kung iakyat natin sa 100 million ito. Gusto nating supuhin yung corruption. Abay, di, gastusan natin. Suportahan natin yung opisina upang sa ganon ay makagalaw sila. Napakalaki po ng Pilipinas para kumuha ng mga ebidensya at iba pa. So Mr. Chairman, yun lang po yung gusto kong sabihin at sana po makonsider ng House na i-increase yung budget ng Ombudsman.
Thank you, Representative Alvarez. Later siguro, Representative Alvarez, ikaw na magbigay ng motion tungkol dyan. Anyway, I'd like to now recognize Representative Gaston Punting for his interpellation.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair. Magandang umaga po sa Ombudsman family headed by Justice Samuel Martires. Ako po may tatlong katanungan. This representation of the 2nd District of Parañaque would like to ask, my first question would be, could you please clarify the Ombudsman's stance and procedures regarding anonymous complaints against public officials? How does the Ombudsman evaluate, investigate such complaints, and what criteria are used to determine whether anonymous complaints are acted upon or not?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, the Ombudsman pursuant to the Constitution and the law creating the Office of the Ombudsman 6770 has given the Ombudsman the authority to investigate motu proprio. We also entertain anonymous complaints if the complaints have verifiable facts. Ibig pong sabihin, if the facts stated in the complaint can be verified and there is substantial evidence to show that pwede namin pagpatuloy ang investigasyon, we continue with that. Just like in the judiciary, where there is a complaint against a judge, even if it is an anonymous complaint, the Supreme Court also entertains those matters. But thank you very much, Your Honor.
And ano po ang criteria po natin o basihan pag sinabi po natin siya po ay dapat aksyonan o hindi?
Once we establish the verifiable facts, we validate ito bang mga facts nito ay totoo nag-exist. So that's where we conduct the fact-finding investigation or the case build-up to validate all these facts that are stated in the anonymous complaint. Because otherwise, kung wala man lang kami makuhang ebidensya, walang dokumento, walang witness na pwede mag-testify, the investigators will just recommend for the dismissal of the complaint.
Second question. In light of the Office of the Ombudsman's decision to file draft charges against individuals involved in the purchase of COVID-19 RT-PCR test kits for Pharmacy Pharmaceutical Corporation and the subsequent recommendation for penalties, can you please clarify what specific actions or measures the Office of the Ombudsman intends to take to ensure the enforcement of these penalties and legal accountability of those involved in the case?
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, Your Honor, sa administrative aspect of those involved in the purchase of test kits, one of those that was dismissed from the service is the Ombudsman's own overall Deputy Ombudsman. Karamihan po doon may mga na-dismissed na from the service. On the criminal aspect, we're just waiting that the motion for reconsideration of the persons involved of the respondents is resolved. And we will immediately file this with the Sandigan Bayan, Your Honor.